How come on some cellular systems you have to register ahead of time, you just can't just go into the system and have the IS-41 connection?
Because that's how the agreement was set up. They didn't want to have some dedicated 24-hour link, but just for a certain period of time that they allow certain people to work in the system. Or the link is there, but because of the setup of the administration, instead of automatically sending all the data through the IS-41 link, the billing data, the start, the end, you have to just give them a call first, okay? By the way, roaming is not just with neighbors, of course. I mean, you step into an airplane, you fly down to San Diego to a conference, step out of the airplane, power up your phone, roaming light goes on, because we have a roaming agreement with whoever is in that area. And it's the same request and acknowledgement signals. Okay, go across the country before your roaming light goes on, all the way from San Diego to Philadelphia, back and forward, and then eventually your roaming light goes on. I could have, like, in my days with NT, we built a system in Bogota, Colombia, same system that we use in the United States. So people step into the airplane in Bogota, fly down to Miami, step out of the airplane, power up their phone, roaming light goes on. Through the satellite now, a signal is being sent back and forth over IS-41 or a submarine cable connecting South America with North America. Okay? Any other questions? Roaming is very important, and it's very simple, as you can see. And again, this is a very simple serial link. No massive amounts of wire here, very simple link. Okay? Now with digital, you have a certain set of features that you will be using on your phone. Calling line ID, short messaging service, message waiting indication. With roaming, let's say in the area that you're roaming, they have the similar IS-136 system that we will be deploying, and I'll talk about it later. Your features will come along with you. And through IS-41, the signaling is happening, telling them, hey, guess what? This person has IS-41 link. Do you support IS-41? Do you support message waiting indication? Do you support calling line ID? You know, system might send back a signal. No, I only support calling line ID. Okay, which is rare because everybody is kind of implementing the same set of features across the country, and it's IS-41 supporting all of this. All right. Now, why go digital? Right? Everything I've said so far is pretty much analog, and yes, TDMA applicable, but why this business about digital? As I said, we have this business of 57 voice channels in one side, and on top of that, we have all sorts of zoning problems. We just cannot get any more sites built almost. Here's an example of the difficulties that we have to go through sometimes. We determined that we need a cell site right on top of this church. You know, if there's anywhere that I need a cell site, it's on top of that church. My prediction model, you know, predicted for me that I have a hole in that area, and to accommodate cellular service in that hole, I need a cell site on top of that church. So we negotiate with the folks from the church, and we agreed that we're going to build this structure on top of the church and hide our antenna in there. Another example is this one, where they didn't want to have any cellular stuff in this between these trees, so we ended up installing a plastic tree. Okay, plastic trees are about between $90,000 and $120,000, and the realer the tree looks, the more expensive, of course. So here is a plastic tree. This is a cell site. All plastic trees, and very, it looks so real, but because they did not want us to build something that looks like a cell site there. So we have to kind of hide it, mimic it a little bit. All right? It's another reason why we're going to go digital. And going digital basically means that I'm not going to build any more cell sites. I'm just going to use the same.
With plastic trees, do the leaves fall off during the fall, or is it still there?
No, they don't.
No, they don't.
They just, and that's why how you can see where we have these plastic trees.
There, on pine trees.
Yeah. You know, in the winter time, you can see some trees are still green, so that's why you know that's a cellular antenna. Very good question. Would be kind of, intense to go up back there and glue, plastic leaves on. But there's another question in the back there. All right. Why don't we take a break now, like a 10-minute break? Now, before I continue, I want to answer some other questions that folks asked during the break. Very important one has to do with roaming. Let's say I'm in my footprint, okay? I'm driving in my footprint. I have my cell sites in my footprint. Suddenly, my roaming light goes on. Then it goes off again. Suddenly it goes on again. Because I might have, let's assume that, oops, this marker is history. Let's assume that these are my cell sites. And let's say AT&T has cell sites in this area. As I'm driving, let's say I'm here, I'm driving around, I'm surfaced off a Comcast cell site. I'm driving and I'm entering an area where I have no coverage, I have a little hole. So I enter AT&T coverage, cell sites from AT&T. So the roaming light goes on, roaming light goes off. That's one scenario. Another scenario might be that yes, I have coverage, but AT&T also has a cell site there. And let's assume this is my cell site with my two antennas, okay? Concentrate on my hands here. This is my cell site with my antennas, they're right here. AT&T, if I'm driving around and from a heights perspective, also has antennas in that area, but they're maybe half an inch higher. Half an inch higher meaning they probably will be a bit more sensitive, so they will pick my signal up. Or the angle that I approach the cell site is more favorable from a reception perspective for AT&T's antennas. Then also your roaming light will go on. So then, I go out in the area and I'm going to go fix my antennas, put them higher, put more sensitive antennas. We do all sorts of these things all the time to continuously optimize our system and continuously ensure that we keep capturing the MOUs and not somebody else. But those are the scenarios that you might be running into. Very good questions. And again, I forgot to cover them. Now, this section, we're going to focus more on digital. But before I do it, so let's assume this is the Grand Slam announcement that everybody was waiting for. And assume that I have in my hand, can you all see my hand? Assume that I have an orange in my hand. Who cannot see that orange? Look very close. I have an orange in my hand, okay? A Florida orange. And I'm going to squeeze this orange. What's coming out of it?
Juice.
What kind of juice?
Orange.
Orange juice. Why is orange juice coming out of it? I want to hear it.
Pressure. Comes out of orange.
Simpler, more direct. Because you're forcing it to come out.
That's what's in there.
That's the answer. Orange juice is coming out of an orange because orange juice is what is in it. What is in it is what's going to come out of it. Not strawberry juice or cranberry juice, orange juice. Okay? Some people say that digital is better, some say it's worse. I kind of like the way one of our executives said it the other day. He said we're going to give the customer a choice between vanilla ice cream and chocolate ice cream. Analog, digital. Digital is not worse or better, it is different. And it's all based upon what we put in here. What we put in here is what we're going to beam out. Okay? Orange juice is coming out of the orange because that is what is in it. So right now, all of us in Comcast are responsible for creating the right perception with our customers. Because you know how it goes. The first perception, that's it. Some medical doctor came up with the idea that these digital cellular phones are not good for pacemakers. I mean, there's no real proof there, but the perception is out there. So guess what? We have to start building filters for pacemakers. And when it comes to the way digital sounds, I have some voice samples here that I would like for you to listen to and judge for yourself. We're not indoctrinating you. Just hear it for yourself and judge. But the perception about digital right now, right here in this room, is where we're starting it, as with all the other classes. Okay, we're not trying to force you to think in a certain way about it. We're just giving you a choice, and it is different. Alrighty? So, I'm going to tell you all sorts of things now, because the heart and center of this whole digital business is a vocoder. But to understand a vocoder, we need to cover all sorts of aspects of the human voice. Let's look at the frequency spectrum of the human ear. When we were babies, very little, we were a lot shorter, our organs were smaller, our ear was a lot smaller, and smaller means that it can vibrate faster. Our eardrums could vibrate a lot faster than now, because our ears are a lot bigger, our eardrums are a lot bigger, it's a bigger mass, so it's not vibrating that fast. And you know, maybe some of us have been hanging out in discotheques for extended periods of time, so we've damaged some part of our hearing capability. But when we were babies, very young, this was the spectrum. From 16 hertz, very low frequency, lower than a bass guitar, all the way up to almost 20 kilohertz, 20,000 hertz. That's the ability, the hearing capability that we had when we were babies. Okay? This is why babies, you know, you see them looking all over the place, because they're hearing all sorts of things that you and I can't hear. Right now in this room, the average person, I would say, can hear up to here. And this is debatable. I say up to 12 kilohertz, 12, 13, 14. That's the limit. So all this expensive stereo equipment that you're buying, you're not hearing it. It is nice, but your hearing stops at that particular point in time. And you know, with some carbohydrates, you can kind of delay the process a little bit, but not a lot. Okay. Now, our speech, just spoken word, without any coloring, between 200 hertz and 3,000 hertz is sufficient enough in telecommunications. But then we're chopping off, again, all of the coloring that goes along with somebody's voice. If I look at male voices versus female voices, there's a difference there, a very, very big difference. Female voices are about 1 octave higher than male voices. Females have the capability to produce sounds, if I may speak about a female voice for a quick second, as being a sound generator. They can generate very high-pitched sounds that males cannot. Why? Because again, the vocal tract of a male is a bit wider. The nose, the lips, teeth, the air of the speed of the air in the vocal tract, which is around 30 miles to 40 miles, and actually when you're sneezing it can go all the way up to almost 70, 80 miles per hour. Very fast, rapid movement of air particles in your throat. With males, it's different than with females.